Hey everyone, my name is James Moffett, and I'm the host of Father's Refuge podcast. This is a introductory episode. This is a introduction to Father's Refuge, and I want to kind of give you a little bit of backdrop, context, a little history as to what Father's Refuge is. So, without further ado, this is going to be an audio-only podcast. I'm not doing video at this point. That may change at some point if I decide to interview somebody and create a video podcast as well as audio. But in the meantime, it's just going to start out with audio. So why Father's Refuge? Back in August the 5th, 2001, our family, which consisted of my wife, Katie, and I, and my three children, Justin, Christina, and Jessica. My daughter, Jessica, passed away from childhood cancer. She had a brain tumor, and she had two different types of cancers. I can't remember the names of them right off the top of my head. Something along the lines of blastoma, big, long medical terms that I don't remember. Anyway, we moved from Bluffton, South Carolina, to Charleston, South Carolina. We're in Goose Creek now, and we moved here because Jessica was exhibiting signs of, well, she was having issues. She ran over her glasses on her bicycle, and she started having headaches, and she started throwing up, and I have a little bit of medical background from back when I was in my 20s, and I recognized that there was something serious going on, and so we took her to the emergency room on Hilton Head Island, and they did a CAT scan, and they discovered she had a baseball-sized tumor in her head on her brain. So they transported her via ambulance to SC's Children's Hospital in Charleston, South Carolina, which was about a 90-minute trip. And the surgeons, when they did the emergency surgery, they came out of surgery and they said, if she lasts 12 months, you'll be lucky. And the reason for that is because part of the tumor was wrapped around her brain stem. Excuse me. So they gave us zero hope, no hope whatsoever, and said basically if she lasted 12 months, you'll be lucky. She lasted 14. And she passed away on August the 5th, 2001. That was 24 years ago. And so this podcast is going to be my story as a father. And I'm going to kind of walk everybody through the process, go down memory lane, so to speak. And I'm going to use this platform to talk about Jessica Ann Moffett, and the rest of my family, for that matter, because it affected all of us. And so I have always wanted to start some kind of program, organization, or whatever called Father's Refuge. And I wanted to do that because there are a lot of support systems for mothers that lose children to cancer or to some sort of terminal illness. Lots of support systems out there for moms. However, there's not very many, if any, support systems for fathers or dads who are walking through all of that. So even in 2001, it's kind of this Father's Refuge idea was born. Back then, all I really did over the period of, the last 8 to 10 years, I wrote my first article about Jessica was called Reflection in Time. And I wrote that article while the pain of that loss was pretty fresh on my mind and in my heart. Then I wrote two other articles. I forget what the names of them are. I will be sharing those with y'all. I'll read those. Like each episode, here on out, I'll probably read. The first one will be Reflection in Time. I'll read that. And then I'll have two more episodes in which I will read the other two articles. And as we walk through those articles, you'll kind of see my father's heart, and you'll see where I was at mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, physically. So when you have a child that has cancer and you lose that child to cancer, it not only affects you, but it affects your entire family. So I want to create this space, if only for a place of legacy to where after I'm gone, Jessica's memory and her story and my story will live on. Now, my hope is that I create this podcast. I'm creating it on Riverside FM, which is an awesome software application that's on the web. I have two other podcasts, ABCs of Parenting Adult Children and Liberty and Gun Rights. And I started podcasting back in May of 2023, and I've learned so much. I've learned a lot. And then in December of 2024, I joined Podmatch Podcasting Network, which is out of Florida. Alex and Alicia, who run it, they're the founders of it. And I'm part of a community there, and I have learned so much about podcasting equipment, podcasting processes, software, cover art, intros, outros, video, audio, all of that. Well, this podcast is not about that. However, I am going to host this podcast, Father's Refuge, on Riverside. And I don't know how all that's going to work. Hopefully, this podcast in the episodes therein will be automatically via RSS feed or however be sent out to Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Public Radio. There's about 15 or 20 different podcast hosting providers that everybody sends all of their podcast episodes to. So it's probably going to take a little bit for this thing to get off the ground, and it's probably going to take a while for it to get noticed or listed on all of these podcast hosts. So please stay tuned. I have no idea when you're going to hear this. So I'm just doing an introductory audio segment, a podcast episode, so that I can tell you that this is the introductory episode to tell you about Father's Refuge, why I'm doing it, who it's about, and the fact that I want to provide a safe space for fathers to listen to my story, and if it resonates with them, and trust me when I tell you, this is not a club that you want to be a member of. You do not want to be a member of the club that parents should not have to bury their children. It's supposed to be the other way around, right? Children are supposed to bury their parents. And I have lost 2 children. 2 out of 4 children I've lost. And it's no joke. And it's painful. And it marks you for life. And you learn lessons that you would rather not learn. And you experience raw pain, raw emotions. And I'll talk about all of that. There's different stages of grief, right? So I'm sure that I will talk about this different stages of grief on one of the podcast episodes here in the next month or so. I don't know that I'm going to release a podcast episode on Father's Refuge once a week. It's probably going to start out to where it's only going to be once a month because I don't have a whole lot of material. I have some material, and I want to get this thing off the ground, and I want to get it started, and I want to get it get a foundation built, and I want the podcast, Father's Refuge, I want to get it listed on all the different podcast providers like Apple Podcasts and iHeartRadio, Public Radio, and all the different ones that are out there. So I want to get it out there. I want to get it noticed. I want to get it listed. The chances of it getting noticed are probably slim to none at this point because it's so new. And it's probably not going to go viral. It's a very specialized niche. Niche? I guess they call it niche. BC's of Parenting Adult Children is a very niche podcast for parents of adult children. So this podcast is certainly not going to be the kind of podcast that's going to have millions of viewers or millions of downloads, or I probably won't have any companies sponsoring the podcast or anything like that. That's not what this is about. This is not about winning the popularity vote. This is not about making people feel sorry for me or my family either. It is about having a platform that I can talk about Jessica Ann and our family and the things that we walked through in those 14 months and the things that we've walked through after those 14 months, the things that we have experienced, that we have learned in the last 24 years, right? So I will ask you to be patient with me. This is not going to be scripted. This is going to be just from my heart, right? I'll read all 3 of the articles I wrote. I have them published on Medium.com and on Substack. And you can actually find those. If you're on Substack or you're on Medium, look up James Moffett, and you can find the articles, and you can read them yourself, for yourself. But I'm going to read them on the podcast episodes just to kind of get this thing off the ground and build a foundation. So thank you for listening. This is a short 12, 13, 14-minute podcast episode. I'm probably going to limit my podcast episodes to 20 to 30 minutes to make it little bite-sized episodes that people can listen to, get in, and get out, right? So say a prayer or send positive thoughts, whichever you're inclined to do, that I will build this thing, I'll build the foundation, and I will be able to use Father's Refuge podcast to reach out to fathers who have experienced losing a child to cancer. All right? So thank you for listening, and thank you for the privilege of your time, and we will talk to you later.